Hey there, and welcome back to the Smell of Logic channel. I am Ramona, and today's Reddit stories are going to be about who is the strangest person you've ever met. Some of these are probably a little subjective, but here we go, right? First story. It has to be Miguel. Miguel was born from Quebec, and I met him in Portugal while studying in the same film classes. He was super friendly in a weird way, not like understanding social rules and being way too expensive at times. He picked up the language very quickly, and he also spoke English, Spanish, and a bit of Russian. He was mostly stoned during the years I was friends with him. He had the craziest ideas of making movies, but he always did a lousy job. Once he decided to build a giant lobster, just because. I never understood his mind. Plus, he was always begging for money. I met him a few years later in different cities, and he was always the same, clearly out of this world. I was looking at this abandoned house. Some old guy pulls up in the driveway, gets out, and starts talking about some conspiracy theory that started back in 1965 and had to do with a cabal of people looking to control the government. At that point, I kind of zoned out on the words he was saying and just shook my head every now and then, and as I paid very close attention to his movements and how he positioned himself around me in case I had to do something to get away from this loony. Fortunately, I had someone with me that kept him a bit distracted. Evidently, words like Obama and CIA started to pop out, and I made an excuse and noped out of there. And they replied with, I misunderstood that some guy in 1965 talked to you about Obama and CIA. That freaked me out. Then after reading, I realized I was so excited for a second, though. While doing a social year, I was working in a kitchen for a monastery. There was this one person living there that was an alcoholic and would sometimes steal from the kitchen. He was in his 40s or 50s and dressed like a 16-year-old, complete with hoodie and cap. One time, he invited me to his room so we could drink a few beers. I gladly declined. By the way, I'm male and in my low 20s. A crazy homeless lady. I was on vacation with my wife and decided to talk to her just to see what was going on. I was drunk and it seemed like a good idea at the time. She was convinced the world was a movie, and she kept asking me if I knew how it was going to end. She thought we were actors in the movie. My wife was freaking out and nudging me to leave the entire time. At one point, the lady asked for money, and I said, I don't carry cash, but would she like a cigarette? She said yes, so I gave her one and then lit the lighter to light it for her. Her eyes were huge like she had never seen fire before and started blabbering and ranting about something I couldn't understand. She started making me really nervous, so I grabbed my wife and walked off. Later, in the hotel bar, we heard a commotion and turned to see what all the yelling was about. She had followed us into the bar, and the hotel staff was trying to escort her out. So ended my homeless curiosity. My ex-friend Beth. I just deleted a ton of details. To sum this up, she concocted another entire being out of her life to suit what she thought would be beneficial to befriend me. It wasn't more than 2 years of friendship when I figured her out. What a psycho. Nothing she told me about herself was true. Worse than that, what the truth was that she was totally a psychopath, complete with putting sugar in her ex-husband's snowmobile tank and other crimes. Now I am friends with her ex-husband, who remarried. While we don't talk about her specifically, sometimes he will talk about his history, and I'm like, that is totally not what Beth said, and we hashed out the details. It's honestly become totally freaky how much she lied and how much little non-meaningful details she concocted lies about. Her ex-husband's wife is suffering from an unknown illness. She's been to the Mayo Clinic and is a nurse herself, but cannot get a diagnosis. She's wasting away and sick all the time. Maybe I watch too many crime shows, but our running joke is that Beth is poisoning her with antifreeze. Now, Beth's boyfriend, who she left her husband for, is MIA. Beth says he's in the hospital 90 minutes away. Suddenly, he's now at a hospital 4 hours away. They've been together for years. When I was friends with Beth 5 years ago, she kept telling me how he was going to propose and that they would marry. This never happened. Why is he sick in the hospital? Does Beth have something to do with her husband's wife being sick and now her long-term boyfriend being sick? I would not be at all surprised. She is an effing fuckfest of bullshit, and that I never want in my life again. My friend was back on the dating scene and started dating a gal who, he thought, was a bit naive but kind. This is all stuff I heard from him, but she lied up and down the whole relationship. It started when he heard her speaking what was pretty sure was a dialect of Chinese. She said that her family was in Peru and that she's Peruvian. She was speaking Spanish. He knows Spanish, and she was not speaking Spanish. He wasn't trying to judge, just thought she looked like she could be of Asian descent, and paired her with, most likely, speaking Chinese, which seemed weird, but families do move. Not everyone is in the same country that their grandparents were, and she could very well be Peruvian. He didn't understand why she'd lie about that language that she was speaking. Maybe weird family problems? One day they were texting a bit, and she sent a sexy photo. This bothered him because it didn't look like her. He called her out. "What's up? It's okay to be uncomfortable. We don't have to do this with someone else's photos." She wanted to know if he liked the photo and insisted it was her a few times. He refused to believe that it was her, and eventually she confessed it was a friend's photo. He chalked it up to insecurity. Sometime later, they're messing around, and she doesn't want to get sexy with him. That's cool. She wanted him to treat her like she was a minor and to take what he wanted, though she repeatedly said that she wasn't interested. Or if it was better of him, she'd be down for daddy-daughter roleplay. Kind of a weird jump, and it made him uncomfortable. He tried to talk to her that he wasn't comfortable treating her like she was underage, nor was he looking to be her father figure. She didn't want to talk about it any further, and tried to make him feel like he had asked her. "Well, then why did you bring it up?" So let's recap real quick. Spoke a foreign language and tried to pretend it was a different language. Sent someone else's photos as her own. Would suggest incest role play or a rapey situation, and then say it was his idea. So, of course, eventually he tries speaking with her about it. What the hell is up? What were all these lies and weird inconsistencies? Now her family lives in Thailand? Or is it Brazil? They seem to move around a lot suddenly and always lived there, even though they totally lived in Peru a few months ago. He was ready to break up, but didn't want to give her a chance to work out whatever issue she was clearly dealing with. She doesn't seem to want to talk, because all she would say to him is, "I don't understand English," or "I don't understand your language," with a thick accent. That's a trip to Crazy Town right there. That's all. Not me, but yesterday, my marine bio teacher met a guy over Craigslist who was giving away a sea hare. He had 4 tanks, but pictures of Jesus were hung all over his house. The guy tried to tell him where the vagina on the sea hare was, his family relations or something like that, and said that he would turn into the devil if he wanted to. The teacher then noped out of there, sea hare in tow. The sea hare is doing fine now, but it is quarantined because he does not know that if such a crazy person could have possibly done to it. A very well-known electric producer DJ, and I won't name his name for your obvious reasons. Really nice guy, but odd to be around. I knew a guy from his home city who often DJ'd at a club local to him. He'd often just turn up on his own, stand at the DJ box for about an hour, talk to no one, as in a low-level resident DJ in a club, having a guy at his level behind you acting weird is effing nerve-wracking. Then he'd just leave without speaking to anyone, buying a drink, or doing any drugs. Anything. Wow. That is a little strange. In my small hometown, there was this guy named Waving Dave. Waving Dave would walk the 15-mile stretch between the 3 towns we had in our area on the highway and wave at all the cars. Back in the 1970s, WD's parents died and he inherited tons of money. Not knowing how to be responsible with said money, he went and boiled his brain on drugs. He was left in a permanent state of bliss, and because he couldn't keep a job, he spent his days walking and waving. Well, I guess, he had something to do, at least. George. The first day I met him, he was rubbing his tummy under his shirt. It was weird, but not scary. I didn't think he was trying to be weird, just that he wanted to rub his tummy and it was a good time to do it, mere coincidence that we were speaking. One time he was shouting in his office, "Shut up, slave! Shut up, slave!" over and over. We couldn't tell what he was saying at first, but he left quickly towards the elevators and still shouting that in the lobby. He would try to touch your elbow with his instead of high-fiving or anything. He'd have random outbursts, similar to the "shut up, slave," but more contained. Like he'd know his reaction was uncalled for, however, he wasn't able to control what he was saying. As I got to know him more, I could tell that he was working on it and trying to get himself under control. However, I don't know if he's ever been diagnosed with anything. Edit. I don't know his diagnosis. He's not your dad or grandpa, no kids. His name is not really George, and hope any of your friends and family get the help they need. George seems to be doing well and is working on these issues. Last we spoke. That's good. My friend Nick in high school, he supposedly had Tourette's. I do say supposedly because this man would walk around school yelling the N-word and F and shit and etc. But I was talking to his mom when I stayed the night, and she said he never went to the doctor and was never diagnosed. So it's possible he's just been faking it for 4 years. An old lady that used to live in my town, who was usually just known as the I Say lady. She was usually seen accompanied by a large dog. She was called that because she started all conversations with adults with, I say. She was an incredible terror to children. If a child came within a few feet, she would berate them for being near and say the dog would attack them. The dog seemed more terrified of her, and I never heard of it attacking anyone. We kids all knew just to leave her alone. With adults, she was a totally different person and would be extremely friendly. Adults would avoid her too because they would talk to them for hours if you would let them, and literally chase after you if you tried to leave. My downstairs neighbor was weird as F. He is in his late 30s and almost never leaves his apartment. He stays home all the time. I have no idea what he does for work, food, etc. He is generally really quiet, except every now and then he will start blasting music for like 4 to 5 minutes tops, and then just turn it off. Probably a homeless man that my mom befriended. He'd clearly been in some sort of accident and had had brain damage. He wore a baseball cap most of the time, but he showed us his scar once. He was generally nice, but you could tell he was off. We were sitting outside McDonald's once, and he'd come over to talk to us again, and his brother had said something teasing to my mom. He felt that my brother was being disrespectful of my mom and didn't like that. Again, generally a nice guy, and he asked my mom, and he liked my mom and dad. But he told my brother, "Do you see my eyes? They are red because I am mad." As if he was convinced that his eyes would actually turn red when he was angry. His family took care of him as best they could. They'd send him gift certificates for restaurants that he could get food at, not alcohol, I think. So he ate, and my parents would buy him meals too. Haven't seen him in a long time, though. Bam Bam Bigelow. Not because he was strange, but because his real life self was so different. Sat on a park bench watching my 5-year-old feeding ducks and just talked everyday things. An autistic painter. That guy would sand a 2x4 until it was a toothpick. Now I suppose I've gone and said something politically incorrect. This Halloween, I was at this Adger party for a live production of the Buffy musical when a girl comes through the crowd and starts grinding on me. Turns out she's using me as a cover to fix her prosthetic fangs, and we get to talking. She tells me that she's a lycanthrope while we're on our way outside for a smoke. While we're outside, she tells me that she's usually not allowed to leave home except for 2 days of the year. Halloween makes sense. She would not tell me what the other day was. As we head back outside, she pulls another drunk at an alt theater production and starts hitting on her to demonstrate the thrall. She continues this inside until we lose each other in the crowd. Worked with a guy at a tool repair factory. He was the one who came around and emptied the dumpsters full of broken parts, so he wasn't normally around that often. But any time, and I do mean any time, you came within a few feet of him, he would say some variation of the same phrase in a grating. Boomhauer-like accent. I hear, famous person, is in the building. Sometimes it would be Obama, sometimes it would be Elvis, but every single time it would be something like that. He even would do that in the bathroom if he were in the stall next to you. Hey. Oh, I can't even pronounce that. I'm not going to try. I'm not sure if he was mentally impaired or inbred or what, but he was pretty strange looking, too. A girl I knew in college believed in the many worlds theory, and that included cartoon universes having existed. She swore that she'd been in every single one, always as the main character. She'd watch animes and cartoons and point out that she knew that she was this character or that character, and evidently her belief in this expanded to video games, television shows, and movies. She was Kenshin, Albel, Tulio, Kuja, Mal, and a long-ass list of other main characters. She also believed that other people she hung out with were the other main characters, like Cloud and Kaylee and Lena in verse. You could tell some of her friends were into it, and others were uncomfortable as hell when she got going. Yeah, that would be pretty uncomfortable. I used to work the drive-thru at a Del Taco that was open 24 hours a day. I had several odd experiences with a regular who came in about once a week towards the end of my employment there. Experience 1. Man comes to the window and asks if our bean and cheese burrito is organic. I say probably not, but I'm not sure. He decides that this means they absolutely must be 100% organic and orders 3 of them. Experience 2. The same man comes to window shirtless. He explains that he is only shirtless because he was sweating profusely moments earlier. This was at 2 a.m. and proceeds to hold a soaking wet shirt to the window for me to touch as proof. Experience 3. The same man comes to the window, does not order anything, but tells me he's very happy that we are open 24 hours a day because he is only awake at night. Experience 4. Same man comes to the window to tell me about a yoga studio he has been frequenting because they are open until 3 a.m. He suggests I check it out. He does not order his usual organic bean and cheese burrito, but rather our fish tacos because he has decided to only eat fish. Very nice man, a very strange man. I called him John the Liar. He was a co-worker of mine in college at a sporting goods store. He'd lie about everything, not just embellishing stories or adding a few extra details, just straight-up lies. He would lie about what he ate for lunch, even though I saw him eat it. He told our manager that his dad was a 6'5" Marine who helped take down Osama bin Laden. When an hour later he told me his dad was a quadriplegic that had been that way for 30 years. He then told me he got an override from the administration to take 24 credits one semester as a biology major. Then I found out that he was still in high school. I was obviously psychotic, and finally had to confront him about it when he started telling customers the complete wrong specs on all the guns we carried. He just lied some more and said that I was wrong, and that I misunderstood him. Evidently, I had to ask my supervisor to schedule me on a different shift because I couldn't take it anymore. Once, when I was a work-play trip in New York City, I was leaving the hotel to grab our rental car from a parking garage when a toothless lady, who looked to be about 60, offered me a blowjob at 7 in the morning and then got irate and aggressive when I declined. So yeah, that was the strangest person I'd ever met. Well, her or the dude with the Santa beard and big, I should explain, big tits. That's always at Zilker Park for Austin City Limits. He always wears a thong and takes pictures with people. Cool guy, but strange. And we'll end this video with this one. My mom, she is totally weird, and I gotta admit, life wouldn't be nearly as exciting or funny if she were a normal mom. We have a bizarre greeting in our house that started after my mom gave me the middle finger coming up the stairs and said, "Greetings, Junior. Can you run some errands for me?" I start laughing, flipping her off and said, "Okay, Mother, what would you like me to do?" The family greeting didn't take long to catch on in our household, though we don't dare to do it to other relatives. They wouldn't get it or like it. It's probably true, but if it works for you guys, that's what matters. So there's this. This is part 1. We're going to go ahead and do another part 2 because there's a lot of strange people, and it's fun to listen to these. Makes you question things. But anyway, hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, maybe leave a like or a comment. Subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone you love or someone you don't like that much, or just a random stranger. That's okay too. Caring is sharing, and sharing is caring. Anyway, thanks for listening and watching again, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.